Okay, we are live with Megan from Matrix to go ahead and give her the platform to run her Mega Mount class. So take it away, Megan.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here with all of you guys.
Okay, we are live
We're
with
very
Megan
excited
from
to
Matrix
hold on
to
one
go ahead
second.
and give her
Can you hear that?
the Yeah, oh, you have to turn the audio off. Class. So take it away, Megan.
Okay, one second. Hello,
Oh,
I'm so
just have to
happy
mute
to
it.
be here with all of you guys. Mute it. Okay. We're very excited to hold on one second. Can you hear that?
Yeah, oh, you have to turn the audio off. So take it away, Megan.
Okay, one second.
Oh, just have to mute it.
Mute it. Okay. It is muted. Let's see. Now can you hear it? Nope. Okay, awesome. Okay, so thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with Matrix, representing our Matrix Mega Melt class today. A few of the things that we want to cover today is the techniques and the cool looks that we can create with just a few colors. And it's exciting and easy. So let's get right into showing us some of the things that we're going to dive deep into today. Um, First of all, I always introduce myself with my Instagram handle, which is Megan with the red hair, because I love to make sure that everyone stays in contact and utilizes me as a tool for them. I love to answer questions. So, any questions you have upcoming, please direct message me at Megan with the red hair on Instagram. I would love to help out in any way that I can. So let's talk a little bit about color melting. And the first thing we sometimes get is, what is it? Well, for this particular class, color melting is showing matrix signature steps into the actual techniques of color melting. It's going to be showing us seamless blended hair colors utilizing three or more tones. It gives us very versatile, updated looks, and you really can do it from any part of your fashion scale. If you want to be very fashion forward and very vivid, you can use vivid colors. You can also do with very, you could be born with hair color. And I have a couple examples of models here that will show you, in particular, my first one of a model that is very lived in hair. It's very beautiful, but this is utilizing our matrix signature steps. I'm not sure if you can see that. Let me know in the chat if you can see that well. But this is showing you a very lived in color, very beautiful, very wearable, very consumer friendly color. That is a particular model that we utilize our new tonal control with. And then we have one that's a little bit more on the fashion side, utilizing again our tonal control, but in our new warm tones, which gives us a beautiful blend. Once again, it's a little bit more fashion forward because of the tones, but again, it's very livable and consumer friendly hair. So some of the things that we're going to make sure that we get into is understanding the whys behind matrix. Like, why are we choosing matrix over a lot of different brands? And with that, we're going to dive into a little bit of product knowledge. We have a lot to offer at matrix. We have our so color permanent, we have our so color sync demi-permanent, and our tonal control, as well as amazing lighteners. We have 6 amazing lighteners on the market that are pre-bonded and beautiful to use. We also, utilizing our matrix mega melt techniques, we're showing that we can really get contrast and dimension on all hair patterns, because we know that hair is just a fabric and we do hair for all hair types and all humans. So we're also going to cover a couple color melting techniques so that you can take it back to your salons and absolutely pick the one that's easiest and most comfortable for yourself. And then last but not least, we always want to make sure we just pinpoint a little bit of home care, because wouldn't you agree that our clients or our guests in our chairs, they need the permission to buy from us? And so if we have the knowledge of home care for them, we can absolutely be successful with giving them the knowledge to purchase, and then being successful because they will purchase from us. So with that, let's talk about what we really should have in our minds of whenever we go into an appointment, and that's consultations. So let me ask you as a group, how many of you feel that you do great consultations? If you do, put in the chat box, say, yes, I do great consultation, or just put a Y in there for me. Let me know what you're thinking. Um, I have a couple statistics for you guys that really kind of blew my mind when I heard them when I was learning one of our programs that's called Salon Emotion. And it blew my mind because it really showed the disconnect between us as stylists and our consumers or our guests in our chair and what they think we're doing as far as consultations. So let me ask you, how many, if I were to ask you a percentage wise, out of 100%, how much percent do you think of stylists actually say they do a great consultation? So, what would be the percentage of stylists out of 100% say they do great consultations? Put it in the chat box for me if you think so. I know in the past I've seen 50%, I've seen 60%, I've seen 70%. Well, believe it or not, the actual number is 97%. So 97% out of 100% of hairdressers say they conduct consultations with every salon guest at every visit and do a good job. But my next question is, how many percentage of the guests of those 100 stylists actually feel that they've gotten a good consultation or maybe even a consultation at all? Put it in the chat what you think as far as guests go, the percentages for me. This number absolutely blew my mind. And honestly, when I have pulled, my attendees in my classes, I get numbers of upwards of 50, 60, 70, 80, kind of on the same line as what they thought the actual stylists said. But it's shockingly and overwhelmingly way lower than that. It's actually only 7% of salon guests surveyed actually said they even ever had a consultation, much less a good consultation. So what does that mean for us? Maybe we need to revisit how and what we do for a consultation. So that leads us to some pretty cool things that Matrix has put together for us to make sure that we're really getting good consultations for every guest at every appointment. So some of the things that we want to make sure that we're going over in our consultations, and really for any hair situation that we're doing, but also specifically for matrix melts or color melting. So the first thing we want to take into account is face shape. Now, some people are thinking, okay, well, I definitely take into account face shape if I'm doing like makeup or if I'm doing an updo or maybe a haircut. But what would I think about face shape with color? Well, what I can tell you is that with color, we can actually use hair color as a corrective service when we're talking about face shape. And it's just like in a haircut, if someone doesn't like their nose, we wouldn't put a bold fringe section on that face, because what's that going to show us? That's going to lead us straight to their nose if we put a bold fringe section. So it's the same in color. If someone doesn't like, say, their double chin, we're not going to put a lot of lightness down here. We're going to maybe shadow that out a little bit, make this dark so that we get a receding factor and put the lightness more up where they're happy. Maybe they love their eyes. Maybe put that lightness up there. So think about that for color melting. We're going to talk about making sure that we know their starting level. And this is not their artificial starting level, but their true starting level. Identify their skin tone, because as we have probably all experienced at least once in our colorist's lifetime, you've probably had a client who's brought in a beautiful picture from a magazine, or these days it's Instagram, right, or Pinterest, and it's a beautiful picture of a model or a star that's out there that does not look anything like them. And so they say they want this hair color and they want this haircut, and we as seasoned stylists or just good stylists, we're like, we can do that, no problem. We go back to our chair, we do exactly what they wanted, and it looks horrible on them because they, for instance, said they wanted golden hair color and warm tones, and their actual skin tone would have looked much better in icy or ashy tones. And it goes vice versa. So with that, we do want to identify their skin tone, determine their hair tone and hair patterns. And the reason for that is because, say you are doing a full a color melt or mega melt placement on a coily head of hair. How many times have you ever experienced doing a full head highlight in the salon on curly or coily hair? You've put a ton of foils in, and when you rinsed out, you're like, where did the highlights go? Because we know that those curls and coils kind of just diminished all the work we did because we didn't place it according to their hair pattern. So we want to make sure we're determining that hair pattern. And then last but not least, we obviously want to make a beautiful finish. So what is Matrix doing for us to help us actually do that? Well, they've given us a few tools. So this first tool I want to show you, and this is a great time to take a snapshot of your screen. It shows you the first 3 steps into utilizing a good consultation, and that's understanding their natural tones, their underlying pigments, their skin, is it warm or cool, and then what colors look best on them, because that we can play up with hair color. So once again, take a snapshot if you can for this. And let me go to the next tool that's revolutionary, and that is what we call our hair diversity matrix tool. If you've ever seen this tool before, put in the chat box for me. Say that you've seen it before for me. If you haven't seen it, let me know that too. Say I haven't seen it. But first and foremost, we need to understand that for diversity, or for hair in general, that diversity is not an idea, it's truly a fact. So what does that mean for us? It's really showing us that we need to take into account every aspect of every hair or fabric that sits in our chair. And so what are we going to use to do that? We're going to use 4 key dimensions of the hair to understand really truly what that hair is going to give us. So the first thing is our level, our natural level. The second thing is our underlying pigment. And those 2 things, I'm sure for all of you colorists out there, you are well seasoned at taking those into account. But things that I think we leave behind many times on the table in a consultation is the diameter of hair and the pattern of hair. And so with this, we have made this tool to make sure that we are checking the boxes of all 4 of these dimensions to make sure that you address every guest properly. And remember that all of what we do is for all hair types and all humans. So once again, take a snapshot of this and keep this in your toolbox as something to give you a heads up for your next consultation, your next beautiful consultation. All right, so in the Mega Melt series, the first and foremost thing you're going to do is you're going to determine your lightning strategy. And so we don't go over what you're going to do as far as lightning, because that's truly up to you. I will tell you that as far as your lightning strategies goes, some people are going to choose balayage and some people are going to choose foils. Some people are going to choose soap caps or global lightning. However you want to create that lightning palette for your color melt is up to you. But one of the things that we like to introduce to you is the lighteners that we do have in our toolbox, and those are our portfolio of lighteners that go from 5 levels of lift all the way up to 9 levels of lift. I would love for you to take a snapshot of this particular screen as well, because it gives you all the information of what these lighteners are and who they are best used on. So once again, take a snapshot of that, and hopefully if you are not a matrix user of our lighteners, that you will have found at least one lightener in this portfolio that you're gonna love. The one I always highlight is the Matrix High Riser. The High Riser is a 9-level lift, and it lifts dark bases from 1 to 4 beautifully, and even light from 5 and above, but just very quickly. So that's a beautiful thing. And if you have any questions about the Matrix High Riser, please put it in the chat box for me, and I would love to answer those questions for you. All right, from there, we, after we've lightened and we've rinsed that out and go to continue on with our matrix melt story, that's when we're going to choose our melting palette. And through the melting palette, we know that we can use many different products. The key to know when we're choosing our melting products is to make sure that the technologies of the products work well together. So what does that mean to us? That means that in every brand, but I know specifically for Matrix, we have different technologies in each color palette. So for instance, in our permanent hair color is ammoniumized in our So color. But in our coil color, permanent hair color, that's an oil delivery system. So with that, they would never be able to be melted together because they're two totally different technologies. Again, we have in our toning department or our demi-permanent department, we have So color sync and tonal control. Well, So color sync is alkaline and tonal control is acidic. And so if we remember Beauty School 101 in that pH scale, if you have something that's acidic and something that's alkaline, you wouldn't be able to melt them together because they would change the chemical makeup and not give you consistent results. So with that, we would want to make sure that we're choosing either a So color collection to melt with another So color collection, or we're choosing a demi-permanent collection that suits each other. So for instance, if I'm starting my melt with alkaline, I'm ending my melt with alkaline. If I'm starting my melt with acidic, I'm ending my melt with acidic. So for that, we definitely have the portfolio to support any matrix melting technique, and we definitely have the technologies to support each other. But just remember, if they are a technology that cannot be melted, just know that if you do melt them, they could get it could not give you consistent results. So just keep that in mind for later. What we also have is Vivids. We have in our portfolio our So color Cult Vivid collection, and so we definitely can utilize that as well. So for our melting service today, the key thing is we're going to do really just 4 basic steps, and that is we're going to choose our tones of melting after we've lightened. We're going to pick 3 shades. We can pick more than that, but we say it's always easiest to start with 3. So we'll pick 3 shades. We'll apply our base, then our ends, then melt the mids, and I will show you that on a model for us. And then we melt them together, and that will create our beautiful look. So let's get some hands and hair and really show you guys what we're talking about with a beautiful matrix melt. So I am going to switch over to this screen and stop sharing that for a moment and get my model here. And before I get her all set to actually paint on, I just want to re-show you guys our original 2 models that I showed you as far as color goes. And once again, this was our done with our tonal control, a demi-permanent acidic color line, and it's done with our new warm tones. And then we have our very consumer friendly, very believable model here that is also done in tonal control acidic demi-permanent in very beautiful 3 tones. We have a level 6, a level 9, and a clear. So here, and that they're very beautiful, very wearable, very consumer friendly. So one of the things that I always like to start off my demos with is making sure that we understand that it is important to do sectioning. And I know that for some of us, we've said back in the day, oh, you know, we sectioned everything in beauty school, and when I get out of beauty school, I'm never sectioning again. But one of the things we like to say at Matrix is when we section, we are really dividing to conquer or to keep control. So one of my favorite sectionings is to do this particular one, which starts off in a horseshoe shaped section at the top, or the crown section, and I split that into 2. Then I take the bottom of the hair and I take my bridal ridge side ear split section, create that as one section, and do the exact same thing on the opposite side. Then I take the back and split that down the middle from the top of the horseshoe shape section down to the nape. Split that in two and create two more sections. So in essence, you're creating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 sections. Now, with this sectioning, you are getting full control over every area of the head. So we have control over the nape, we have control over those sides, we have control over the bridal ridge, we have control of your fringe section as well as your top or crown. So with that, that is one of the best sectionings to start any chemical service, whether it is your lightning service or a color melt service. But I will tell you that most of us are shaking our heads and saying, "I'm not going to do all that, Megan." So I will tell you that even if you're not into doing something more in depth as far as this full sectioning goes with these six sections, a 4 quadrant section does beautifully. And so I will show you this gal here. Now I'm bringing this model to the light to show you that she's partially done in areas and partially not done in areas because I'm going to use her as my demo doll. But what I'm showing you is that she is done in a 4 quadrant section, very simple, very easy, and very quick to do. So I will say that if you are one of those non-sectioners, if you're a non-sectioner, just do a 4 quadrant because I still will feel that you are dividing to conquer, and that's a beautiful thing. With that, I wanted to show you, I showed you those two beautiful dolls done, very consumer friendly, very believable color. Well, this one is going to be showing you the example of utilizing more of a vivid tone or a semi permanent color. Now, as you can see with her hair color, um, it's not believable, right? No, nobody is born with blue hair. I liken this hair to like peacock feathers, right? But one of the things that I will show you that could be a mistake when doing a color melt is not applying the tones in the correct order. Now, if you remember back to the one slide I was showing you the ways of the technique, it showed you step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1, do the base. Step 2, do the ends. And step 3, use your blending color and then melt. It is very important to apply the color in those steps in order to get a beautiful blend without erasing a tone or creating a tone that you really don't want. Now, one of the things that I'll show you is that this section looks pretty good, but I don't even think the camera is reading it that well. But we have a section over here where we've lost tone, and we've lost tone because we didn't apply correctly. We put the light in last, we put the darkest part on first, and it's showing us that there are wrong ways to do it. And I always stand in front of my classes that I facilitate and I say, as artists, we don't like to be told there is a wrong way. And I never stand up here and say, Matrix way is the only way. But what I do say is that there are certain things that whether Matrix is telling you or not, they don't work. And so, for instance, keeping that pattern of your scalp area or your zone A at the top done first, and then your ends, and then your middle color to do the melt, you're going to be much happier at the end of the day. So let's once again get our hands into some hair and show you a couple melting techniques. So I'm going to bring my girl over here, and bear with me, we are in a small area today. So what that means is that I'm going to have to finagle to make sure that you guys get the best view of the doll head. So I would love for you to, if you can see well, put it in the chat for me. If you can't see, also put that in the chat for me. I really want to make sure that we are all as comfortable as possible on our digital event today. So Once again, I am going to utilize this particular doll head to show us a vivid technique in our Mega Melt series. So I'm going to choose 3 different colors, and the colors that I'm choosing today are going to be a vibrant blue out of our So Color Cult category, a vibrant green out of our So Color Cult category, and then a color that I created by mixing green and blue together to create a teal tone. And what I always like to do for a color melt is always do a little practice run with my colors, especially for my vivid colors, on a white piece of paper towel. And what I do is I just take my 3 tones and I paint them on the white piece of paper to see if they melt well. Because let's talk about the fact that not all colors live well together. And what I mean by that is we already talked about color technologies and making sure that they can blend well. But if we think about, once again, going back to Beauty School 101 in that color wheel, if we take a warm color and a cool color and we mix them together, does that make a beautiful color every time? No, right? Put that in the chat box if you agree with that. We know that sometimes it could make a muddy color or a just not a pretty tone. So I always like to practice on my white paper towel just to make sure that my 3 tones that I did choose will create a beautiful melt. And so this is an example of what we're going to utilize today. So we're having our blue at our scalp area, we're having our green on our ends, then we're having our teal color right in the middle to use as our melt tone. So with that, those are my 3 tones, and this is my palette that I'm starting on. I always make sure that on my working station that I have a clean towel to wipe my hands in case I get any color on my hands, because if your hands are dirty, your technique will be dirty, or you're messy, I should say. If your hands are messy, your technique will be messy. The key to melting, even though it's very artistic and it's free form and it's fun, you do have to keep in order to keep the look in order. So with that, I always keep a towel to wipe my hands. I also keep a dry brush or a brush that has no color on it onto the side in case I need to do any erasing with a brush, as well as a paper a towel or something to wipe that brush off with if I use it. I make sure that my colors are separated in different bowls so that I can see exactly what I'm working with. Or I label the bowls if it's, say, a demi-permanent color like our So Color Sync that doesn't have pre-oxidation. If we use our new tonal control, one of the beautiful things about tonal control is it's has pre-oxidative tones in it so that you can see right from squirting it out of the tube what you're putting on the hair. So that's a beautiful thing about tonal control, as well as So Color Cult. Obviously, a direct dye is always going to give us what we see in the bowl is what we're going to get. So with that, let's start in her front left quadrant. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a diagonal back section. One of the reasons why we always take a diagonal back section from the front of the hairline is so that we get a nice flow to the hair color. And I'm going to clip that out, that section out of the way, and take our subsection and place our first tone, which is the blue, at that top. Now, one of the key things when working especially with vivid tones or direct dyes is we never want to go in at a straight angle like that with our brush. We always want to go in at a side feather, more of a swiping motion. The reason for that is because if we go in like this and touch that hair, and I'll do it so you can see what I'm talking about. Say I do this and brush down. Do you see that line that I have here? If you see it, put it in the chat box for me that you see it. That line that I've created, even if I go back and feather it out after, I will promise you that it will stay a solid line. It's something to do with how that hair, how those molecules hit that hair, and you cannot feather it out. So whenever you're working with a direct dye or a direct tone, uh, which is found in all your semi-permanent hair colors, always hold your utensil or your color brush like a pencil or a pen and work on as a side brush and just side brush that down just like that. So you'll put your new growth or scalp tone or base tone zone A on first, paint that, then take your end tone, and your end tone in this case is a vibrant green from So Color Cult, and paint your ends. Once again, only going in that side feather motion. Swiping that on, sweeping it on like that, making sure you get that fully saturated. Then you can set that down. Wipe your hands so that once again, if your hands aren't messy, your technique won't be messy. And then we'll go in with our melting tone, which is a teal tone, going in on the side, taking that, swiping that down, meeting it right up to both tones that we did, the first tone being the blue and the second tone being the green. And now we'll do the melting technique, and that's where we're going to take our scissors in a peace sign, and we're going to take that and melt or squeegee that color back and forth to help melt. Once that is melted, we can lay that down and we can go to our next color, our next section, I should say. So our next section, we're going to pull down, once again, subdividing with our comb on a diagonal back. Place that down, place that section down, clip up your previous hair, and then hold that subsection taut and utilize your three colors again. So start with your blue at that top zone A on a side swipe, paint that color in. Make sure to saturate really, really well, top and bottom. Never making a solid line. That's your biggest mistake. If you leave a solid line or create a solid line, you can't get a solid line out. Now take your end tone, which is green. Paint your ends, again in a sweeping motion. Making sure to saturate, saturate, saturate. And last but not least, your mid tone, which is a teal. Go in, apply that tone. And then take your peace fingers and squeegee that to make sure it's blended. One of the things to remember is that that squeegee motion is completely appropriate to do on a color melt. It's never appropriate to do on a lightening technique. When you do a lightening technique, you're going to massage going down because you have to keep with the cuticle when you're lightening, because a lightener is a product that wants to open the cuticle as well as deposit or lighten or remove color. With a semi-permanent, you can actually go up and down because you will not damage that cuticle. So just keep that in mind for the two different chemicals. If you're doing a squeegee motion, just make sure it's a chemical that's not that's main action isn't to open that cuticle on its own, because it will damage if you do that. So let's show you one more in this way of technique. Once again, doing a diagonal back subsection. Bring that down. I'm going to keep that fringe section out of the way still. Clip that back so it's not in our way. Take our hair. Start with zone 1 or A, which was blue at the top. Side brush that on. Swiping, swiping, swiping. Take that underneath and make sure you got full saturation. Now take your end color, which is your green. Swipe that on. Getting full saturation. Very good. And then take your mid color, which is our teal. We'll swipe that on as well. Get it on the back. And then take your peace fingers and squeegee in to make sure you have a proper melt. Now, we usually get the questions of, well, what if our client doesn't have beautifully straight hair, sleek hair that every palette looks easy to put on because you can see exactly what you're doing? What if they have curls or coils and we can't see very well? One of the best tools to use for that is a highlighting board. Any brand will do, but I like this one because it's long, so I can fit the whole hair on there. And a great way to get control of those curls and coils and really get that hair saturated is to be able to paint the board first and then apply the hair to it and then paint into the hair. It really helps disperse that color through those curls and coils very easily. So let me show you how we would do that. Let me just move her head down for us. Let me know in the chat box if you can see well. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so first I'm going to subdivide my section out. Put her hair clipped out of the way for us. Then I will take my board, and in the same manner as I painted the hair strand itself, I will paint the board. So I take that blue and I apply my blue at the base first. Then I take my green, apply that on the ends. And then I take my teal and apply it in the middle. This is also a great way to be able to apply colors that maybe cannot be squeegeed together, that would live nicely like brother and sister right next to each other. For instance, if you're doing a rainbow of color, it's very easy to apply on a board and then apply it to the hair, and it stays in those perfect rainbow sections and they don't get melded together. So then we'll take our hair and we will place our board, and then we place our hair down on to the board. Utilizing our thumb for control, we just hold that hair taut. And if the hair is a little bit too wide for your board, just take a piece out. And again, just as on the hair that was left down without a board, we'll start with our blue. Paint that on a side brush motion. Pushing it right into the board, because remember, this hair that we're representing, it would be curly or coily. So if it was curly or coily, we can't just lay that color on the top. We really have to get it into the middle there and push that color in as to get perfect saturation for that hair. So applying your blue first. blue on there. Then we will apply our green, which goes at the ends for us. Those ends in there really, really well. And then we will take our mid color, which is our teal, apply that in the middle. And then for this application, this is a prime time to use a dry brush because we can't use our fingers to squeegee because it's on a board. We can use a dry brush or a new clean brush and really just melt in those two sections. Once that's done, I wipe this brush with my towel to make sure we keep it clean. And then I take my board and I flip it down like that. So it's in the hair like this, and instead of sliding it out of the hair, because if I slide it out of the hair, I'm actually messing up my melt. I may be melting too much that way. I actually will bend my board down and let that hair fall. So let's do that again so you guys can visualize that one more time. So first I'm going to take a subsection. Diagonal back. Take your hair. If it is too wide for the board, just take out some of that hair to make sure you are getting a nice clean look. Take your board, and it's up to you whether you want to be cleaning this board off in between. On this length of hair, being almost one length everywhere, I would not need to do that for this particular model. On my model like this with having that fringe, I would have cleaned it off because I would not have wanted that melt to become a straight line around her fringe area. I would have wanted to balance it because of her haircut. So remember to also what's the word? To create the look for the haircut that you're putting on. We always say in the industry is we cut the color or we color the cut, right? So take your first tone, which is blue again, paint your board. Take your second tone, which is green, and that goes on the ends. Then take your third tone, which is your teal. Place that in the middle. Blend it a little bit. Perfect. Then take your subsection of hair. Place that board in. Lay your hair down on top of the board taut. Utilize your thumb for control. Now take your colors again, starting with blue. On a side brush motion, feather down, always down. Get that color right in there. Saturate, saturate, saturate. Perfect. Let's get that piece right there. Perfect. Now we'll take our second tone, which is green, apply that to the ends. Again, saturate, saturate, saturate. Really get that color down in there. Curls and coils like to repel color, so we want to make sure we really get that in there. And then take your third tone, which is your mid-tone, your teal. Place that in the middle on a side brush motion. Feather that ever so slightly, and then take your dry, clean brush and marry the two colors or melt the two colors. You notice at the top I used one side and at the bottom I used the opposite side. Then to remove the board from your hair, we're going to lift up and push the top down and lay that hair down. Keeps it beautifully processed. It doesn't make any, any splotches or blotches. It's beautiful. If you're worried though, you can absolutely put saran wrap or cotton in between. I find that, in most cases you do not need to do that, especially on curls and coils, because they stay in their own families anyways. So with that, let me know in the chat if you want to see another round of techniques. Perfect. I am going to show you again our first technique, which was not utilizing the board. And so with that, I take the hair down. This is best for straight to wavy. So on straight to wavy hair, I would take the subsection, I would hold it taut with my fingers. I would place my first tone, which is the blue, on a side feather. So painting that from the side, feathering that down. Perfect. Getting our blue on there. Beating our brush so there's enough color. Lifting that up to get the bottom to make sure there's full saturation. Never putting in a straight line, because even if you put the straight line in and feather it back out, it will not feather. It will stay. Then take your second tone, your green that goes on the ends, apply that to the ends. Saturate, 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 making sure you get full coverage so that she processes well. Then take your mid-tone, your teal, apply that to the middle. Still on a side brush. And then take your peace fingers and squeegee to mix or melt. Squeegee, squeegee, squeegee. Again, keeping in mind that the squeegee is best used on semi-permanent or direct dye and not a product that opens the cuticle. If you are utilizing something that opens the cuticle, just melt in a downward motion. Don't melt on the way back up, because that will shove open the cuticle. So again, we will show you the technique for wavy to or curly to coily hair, and that is utilizing your board. Take your diagonal back subsection. Got a snarl, sorry about that. Diagonal back subsection. Place that down. Preload your board. First tone is blue at the base or zone A. Second tone is for the ends, that is your green. Third tone is teal, that is your mix color. Apply that. Now take your subsection of hair, place your board in, and hold that hair taut onto the board with your thumb. Then take your tones again and paint in the same manner, utilizing blue for the base. Get that little hair that is not on the board. There we go. Blue for the base. Feather that down, always going down, so you don't get any clumpy color. Always want to make it smooth. Then take your green, which is your end color, apply to those ends, making sure to saturate, saturate, saturate. Then your middle color, which is your teal, apply that to the mid lengths, feathering ever so slightly with this brush, but then going back with a dry brush that you've previously wiped and melt the top, flip the brush over and melt the bottom. Then to remove your board, you simply lift the hair with the board and then flip the board down and let that hair lie. And as it lies, they will all process beautifully together. So with that, that is our Matrix Mega Melt. Once again, we can utilize any product in our portfolio. We can use permanent, but if we use permanent, we melt with permanent. We can use demi-permanent. If we use demi-permanent, we melt with demi-permanent. And the key to remember is that we do have two different demi-permanents. We have acidic and we have alkaline. So if you start with acidic, end with acidic. If you start with alkaline, end with alkaline. And last but not least, we also have semi, which is what we showed you in the example here today for our color melt. And as you can see, it's easy, it's very quick, and it's something that can be very consumer friendly all the way to very fashion forward. I like to label all of my colors as either a whisper, a shout, or a scream, and every client has their choice of what they really want to be. This category absolutely is what we would call a scream. Our beautiful natural model, she was definitely a whisper, and then our new warms was somewhere in the shout. So that's a beautiful thing that we can definitely be able to talk up to our clients and our guests that are in our chair as to what's available for them and what they can actually get out of a color melt service. Now, one of the things that I want to just make sure that we end with is our options for our hold on one second. I'm getting this. Here we go. Our options for our formulas. And so I always ask everybody if they would like to take a screenshot of this, because this is some of our favorite formulas here at Matrix for our So Color Sync pre-bonded formulas. Beautiful caramels all the way to a marbly icy look. So take a screenshot of that for some options for later, as well as let's talk about some home care, because home care is so very important. As you know, Matrix has beautiful products in our Total Results line. We have a solution for every situation. And one of my favorite take-home products, product regimens, I should say, let me just move her out of the way so I can grab that, is our Keep Me Vivid line. Now, our Keep Me Vivid line has your traditional shampoo and conditioner, which we all use and love, and definitely everybody that sits in our chair needs a shampoo and conditioner. But what's amazing about Keep Me Vivid shampoo and conditioner is that it truly gives you longevity on all high maintenance hair color. And so what I like to challenge you is to really know that that high maintenance hair color doesn't just mean vivids or direct dyes. We know that every toner that sits in our chair is a high maintenance hair color, because we definitely want to keep the longevity of that from day one to 6 weeks out when they come back for their refresh. What is also an amazing product is our Total Results Keep Me Vivid lamination spray. Now, if you've ever used this or heard of it, please put it in the chat box for me. Let me know. This is one of my favorite all-time products in the world, because this is actually a product that will keep the longevity of your color beautifully the entire journey of your hair color. The key to know about this particular bottle is that this is a thumb sprayer, not a regular sprayer. So regular sprayer, we'd spray like this, correct? Put in the chat box if you agree. This is not that, because if you do that, you will pinch your fingers, you will hate it, your clients will bring it back. Let everyone know this is a thumb sprayer, and how you use a thumb sprayer is you put your finger in the little crevice here and you spray with your thumb, and this will create a really easy way to spray this product under the hair, on top of the hair, for not only yourself but your clients or guests in their own showers at home. Very easy and beautiful to use. The other thing about this product is that this can replace your shampoo at the shampoo bowl after your color service. Every color service, because it does have chelators in it that will stop all chemical action. And what you will do is rinse your hair clear, your guest's hair clear, and then towel blot it, spray this in for up to 1 minute, or I should say for at least 1 minute. It can stay in longer, but it can literally be rinsed off in 1 minute. It may or may not need conditioner after. You are allowed to put conditioner on after, but if you didn't want to, it will shut down and seal that cuticle beautifully. And then as a take-home product, they would shampoo their hair first, rinse the shampoo out, spray this in, leave it in 1 minute, and then rinse it out with or without conditioner after. This will keep the integrity of that high maintenance hair color for a very long time. Last but not least in that regimen is our Keep Me Vivid Velvetizer Cream. That is amazing because it gives heat protection up to 450 degrees. It is a smoother, a defrizzer, an anti-humectant, all the things that hair needs, not only for the upcoming summer seasons, but all year round, even in the wintertime. And it keeps that hair shiny and beautiful, has many benefits, and we highly recommend that. So if you guys have any questions on any Total Results products that we have, once again, a solution for every situation within those lines, let me know in the chat box, or once again, you can always direct message me at Megan with the Red Hair, and we would challenge all of you to put your work on social media and tag us in it. Tag us at Matrix, tag us at myself, Megan with the Red Hair, as well as use our hashtags Matrix Melt, Matrix Lighteners, Matrix So Color Sync, and Matrix Tonal Control. All of those hashtags will help us see your work, and we would love to repost and celebrate all your wins with you. And then last but not least, we want to close out today to make sure that all of us are thinking outside the box, believing in ourselves, dreaming big, and daring that we can do it. And we appreciate all of you for being a part of our Matrix Mega Melt class and our Matrix melting techniques with me, Megan Makarewicz, and Matrix. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Do you need anything else?